Hello, this is Todd Danielson, the Editorial Director of Informed Infrastructure. I attended the Bentley Systems 2017 Year in Infrastructure event in Singapore as a member of the media. And I also had the honor to serve as a judge for the Reality Modeling Award category. In addition to speaking with some of the finalists and learning about their work, I also interviewed several members of the Bentley team to gain their insights into what they felt were the key aspects of the 2017 event and what we might see in 2018. The following are some of their thoughts. Enjoy.
The center of gravity for infrastructure is in Southeast Asia, and a lot of that's being driven by the One Belt, One Road initiative. So a lot of stuff that's actually happening in China is bleeding over into all of Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, KL, as well as Indonesia, and then even down to Australia. So there's a huge amount of spending and projects that are going on here. It's unprecedented, right? So we haven't seen this level of activity in the infrastructure space in decades. Probably the closest thing that even comes to it is probably the interstate system that was developed in the 1950s in the US. And this is at a magnitude of scale probably 20 times that.
Oh, absolutely. If you look at some of the projects that are happening in China right now, they're not building a building or they're not building a road, they're building cities. They're building hundreds of cities, and when the forecast of the world demographics in the UN say that the number of 10 million cities that have a 10 million more population are going to double in the next 15 years, most of that's coming here in China. So the amount of infrastructure that they're doing is absolutely amazing. I think there has been quite a shift is because they are adopting and embracing construction and design practices that, frankly, we're not doing in what we call the Western, part of the world.
But when you look at Asia as a whole, I think it also is a true statement because there's so much development going on, and there's so many areas that need improved infrastructure, and whether that's transportation, water and wastewater, electric utilities, telecommunications, there's just so many needs, and they're addressing those needs.
Well, I would say for sure that there's an enormous amount of spending going on for infrastructure in this part of the world, right? I mean, there's been a huge amount of economic growth in a lot of these countries. It's a little bit like the paradigm where entire sections of China never had wired telephones. They went right to cell phones. I think the same is true in a lot of ways because they have many new greenfields, enormous greenfields projects. They're being extremely innovative in looking at how do we do this the best way without a whole lot of preconceived notions about, well, this is the way we've always done it in the past.
Asia has some unique characteristics in terms of infrastructure, particularly for water and wastewater systems. If you look, different parts of Asia have developed differently over the years. When you look at things like India with 600 million or so people that don't have access to sewer systems, a lot of people that have intermittent water supply challenges and things. They're not all problems necessarily unique specifically to Asia. You see some similar problems in parts of Latin America and so on. But certainly when you compare that against what you see in Western Europe, what you see in North America, Australia, et cetera, those are definitely different challenges.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think if you have a look at the finalists this year, it was close to a half of them came from this part of the world. In our particular business as well, in the analytical modeling group, this has been a fast-growing area for us. In fact, one of our fastest-growing areas.
I tend to agree with the phrase because definitely, at least from my reality modeling group, definitely there is a lot of traction, no resistance to change, and the speed of adoption of technology is definitely very fast. The people in Asia seem to like reality modeling a lot. There's a lot of proven return on investment in their projects.
I absolutely do agree with it to the extent I actually relocated with Bentley to Singapore about 6 months ago from the UK. My speciality in particular is rail and transit, and where we're seeing a lot of the growth and a lot of the investment happening is specifically in Singapore, in the Asia region, looking at all the work that's happening with Singapore in the metros, with Malaysia with the KVLMRT project, and equally the work in in India, China. There's a huge explosion and huge growth in infrastructure investment that's taking place here.